It's great to see everybody. It was also very nice to have last week off. And
We get off next week?
I didn't take last
You
week
were-
off, Mr.
You
Tyner.
did-
I was out there working.
Were you here?
Let's make it a
Not
motion
here.
for next week.
Don't count.
And I wanted that recorded.
okay, well, it's in the minutes now. All right. Is there a motion that we approve the minutes?
Motion.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes approved. All right, Mr. Mills, you're up first today. There you are.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. We have one applicant today. It's Sixth Street Development LLC, doing business as the Alamite Hotel. They're applying for a special retail alcohol license more than 30 days.
What is their opening date? Does anybody know what their estimated opening date will be
Targeting for this, before football.
Before
for football season?
Yeah.
Okay, are there any questions?
And
for Mr.
remind
Mills?
us again, I think this came up once before related to a hotel. The correct licensing is a special events.
Well, it just depends. I checked with ABC Board today. The reason why they're applying for it, because they're actually gonna be able to serve alcohol on several levels. They have a rooftop. If they're applying for a restaurant license, their alcohol beverage sales can be more than food sales.
So they want to be able to do it all.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I spoke to them about that hotel.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, Tony. Looking mighty sharp today.
Thanks, sir.
Zach?
Can you click for me? There we go. If you want to skip through these and get to thanks. We got a couple of things for you. We have it's gonna be a little while that I'm up here for you guys.
There we go. All right, stop from your clicker.
Got it, yeah, that's right. Alright, so first up we have Habitat for Humanity over by Colton Park. So 2 weeks ago, you guys had approved a rezoning for this property. Now we're going forward with the planning and development. It's gonna be 26 residential lots in this area here. And of course, it's Habitat for Humanity. They're gonna be about 1,300 square feet each. This is the subject property here, pretty large piece of property that they're working with. Here's the layout. And then the interior layouts for, typical interior layout for the development. And then the homes, what they're gonna look like. So this was considered by Planning Commission May 2022 and unanimously recommended for approval. Any questions on this one?
This is in District 2, right?
Yes, sir.
What distinguishes, so this is a neighborhood development of 26 houses, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's 26 lot, I assume it's going to be
26
26.
homes, yeah.
And Habitat for Humanity is developing it. What is it what distinguishes this from another 26 house neighborhood a half mile? Is it, can only certain people buy it? Why is it Habitat for Humanity?
Gotcha. I believe they received specific funding.
Okay.
They,
They're the property owners.
yeah, they're the property owners.
But they're, what I'm trying to understand is, are they essentially functioning as a builder and developer, or is there some niche in our community that their project is restricted to, or only, that's all I'm trying to
Yeah,
understand.
that's a fair question, and I think Ms. Cox is coming tonight.
We saw it
That'd
live.
be a really great question for her, but, because I'm gonna butcher all the good stuff that they do. They serve such a vital role in our community in providing housing for folks, because it's all sweat equity that goes back into those homes that they build. And also at the end of the day, they turn over the keys to that individual. It's not a rental product. That home gets turned over to that person who
Interest-free, with an interest-free loan.
interest-free loan, like, it's a really cool thing
Right.
that
They
they
can't
provide.
flip it.
Yeah, and the way that the person, they have to apply for it. and,
Yeah, they have to do so many hours in sweat equity.
And the good news is they can't flip it in 2 years when the price goes up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So you make a renter a owner basically, somebody who could normally apply. It's a
But
program
it's not
itself.
restricted to income or disabled veteran or, it's just, and by the way, the houses are beautiful.
Oh, yeah,
1,300
yeah,
square
they-
feet.
Definitely.
What, I mean, that you got them out,
Yeah,
and they're gorgeous.
they're definitely,
So that's why I'm asking,
Oh, yeah.
can anybody buy one?
no,
Yeah,
Who can?
no, there's
It's
a
a program,
income,
actually.
there's a
You gotta be
restrictions,
below-
economic.
you gotta be below a
Income
certain
based. Yeah.
income.
Alright, and then we have 3 rezonings for you for the city of Tuscaloosa. So one is, the Savings Center, 315 Nixick Avenue. You can see this is zoned ML and BC currently, and we're just changing it to institutional. As well as the amphitheater, so currently it's zoned RD Riverfront Development District, and it is going to institutional as well. You can see that on that zoning map there. And then the third one for you is River District Park. Again, RD going to institutional. So this is just really correcting what should have been done in the first place when we
Right.
moved forward with the projects.
Mhm.
And of course, these were unanimously recommended for approval in May of 2022. by the Planning Commission. We have a zoning text amendment coming to you guys as well. So this was specifically related to student-oriented developments, the locations of where they could go. So this was introduced to you guys at the last admin and policy meeting. So I'll briefly go through this again. So we are specifying in the residential permitted use table where these can go. So we're adding student-oriented housing developments to that table and putting them in RMF2. And of course, that not to exceed 200 bedrooms in any one development, and the maximum density not to exceed 200 bedrooms per net site acre is gonna be carried over from that moratorium, that we had in place. So this is essentially codifying the moratorium.
Zach,
Yes, sir.
I can remember when I first got on the council, I found this, information. We were given this concerning student housing work session overview and status. So is this in the same, in line with, that basically we have affordable rental inventory of 2,844, and it says 54% of the rental households are cost burden, pay more than 30% of their income on housing. So
this
we-
is,
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is specifically related to student-oriented developments. And
Yeah.
So we,
And this was too,
Yeah,
student
so-
housing work session.
all of this stemmed from that student rental
Yeah.
student rental housing task force that was from 2013.
Yeah,
So yeah, that data is likely from.
I was just re-looking at it because if every student housing in our city is like at 70%, and then we add more housing, it's gonna put us eventually in a deficit then.
Yes, sir. And then also, we've seen, the areas, so you can see on this map here, student-oriented developments are identified about the yellow circle throughout the city. This isn't even all of them, but within this area, you can see some of them are located pretty far out from the University of Alabama.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that tend to be struggling because they're student-oriented in nature, and so a
Right.
family is not gonna really want to move in there.
Right.
So this code amendment is really to focus that new development like this within the university area, specifically in an RMF2 zoning district. We also have this here, so we're adding it into the business permitted use table and business special exception use table. Apartments are allowed in BGO zoning districts as long as they're within the original city survey area. And then also BN if they're through a planned unit development. And so we're just clarifying here that apartments are still allowed going through those processes, it's just you can't build them student oriented. And then same with the special exception uses in the BC area as well.
And on top of that, could you give us, next time you come before the council, could you give us a kind of synopsis of the supply and the demand for those houses?
Sure.
So that the council would be informed concerning that?
Yes, sir,
Thank you.
I can do that.
You have supply data?
I can do that, yeah, I will supply it. It's, I mean, we have the documentation, it's just a matter of getting it to you guys and making it clear for y'all, so
We
you don't
went
have to
through
sit.
this about 18 to 24 months
Yeah.
ago, and it's a very
Yeah.
clear graph on the chart where you are
Yeah.
way oversupplied,
Right.
particularly the large student housing complex.
But my memory, Brendan, of where we met when
Excuse me.
that discussion came up about 18 months ago was the demand for student beds is fairly easy to calculate. Between us and the university, 38,000 minus 2,000 local, minus 11,000 on campus, minus something else, and you come out with 21.5 or thereabouts.
You can get
So we know the demand picture, but I don't recall us identifying what the supply side of that picture
We
was.
have that. From 2011, it's not gonna, but we have it on the
Well,
chart. That's-
2011, it does,
Well, but you have to keep in mind, there's two different types of products here that we're looking at, and actually feel free to jump in. A smaller.
she's already itching to jump. She's bounced up
I
twice.
can send it. So,
Huh?
the point where I was going is that you're already dealing with situations where a triplex that may have 12 people in is completely different than a 450 bed home. Right? I mean, we have some of those, most of those tracked, but your large increase of the large student housing of that size is, 10, 9, 11 is really where that takes off. That's your retreats. That's the, is it still branded Rum Creek?
Yes.
That's the Lark. That's the Evolve. That is all of those products that are out there that are specifically designed for that.
And you're right, they are dramatically different in most ways. There is a commonality they share, though, is that if our concern, one of our concerns, because we haven't, but if one of them is that there is a gross overbuilding taking place for student beds, whether it's in a 3-story fourplex or whether it's in a 450, whatever it is, and of course, my district and Mr. Wilson's somewhat, are most, our concern is there's this huge oversupply being built up, and where does that lead? That's why, when I ask about supply, I'm talking about student beds.
The quick answer, and we can look at that to Zach's point, is that your ones that are outlying complexes that he referenced, right? Those are the ones that are sold 3 to 4 times. I know Councilor Tyner's brought up a couple times in previous meetings, that those are the ones that get sold that are designed for student housing, but students don't really live there anymore. And those are the ones, if you talk to the police chief, that have the largest propensity for crime. The smaller triplex, duplex, quadplex, those can be repackaged and redeveloped in 10 to 15 to 20 years once that note's paid off. A $50 million student housing development that takes up multiple acres, or 1 acre that's highly vertical, that's much more complex to redevelop. That's something we may not see change in our lifetime. Versus a triplex could be leveled in 10 years and start over, and they could assemble it, they could build a new product, whatever the new product is for that time.
And I know that
That's our
there-
concern, is the repurposing of it in the future.
And in terms of supply and what's been coming online lately, our numbers are greatly down across the board. And I know we
Our numbers of what, supply?
Yes.
How do we
And
know?
how do we know? Because we keep tabs on it. We keep records of land development permits, and so we know what's coming on board. And we have not been permitting the plexes. Our numbers are substantially down. I'll get those to you after this meeting. I'll go back to my desk. I can pull them very quickly. But we have not permitted many plexes in the last 2 years. So our supply numbers are down, and all this zoning text amendment is accomplishing is just making sure that student-oriented developments happen only near the university, and then everywhere else, if there are multifamily products or if there are attached products that are developed, that they meet the needs of the community, that they are for families and not just for students in the outskirts of town.
And
Can I ask a related question?
sure, yes, sir.
I want to ask y'all, what is the this is not what you're talking about right here, but we're talking about student oriented. The 4th and 23rd Temerson property development. How is that, what's fixing to happen with it going forward? It's coming back to us. I know it's going to to Counselor Fail's committee, but what's the, what is the expectation? Let me just ask that.
You say
for a-
fourth and
or
23rd.
fourth and-
The Mr. Waters' property?
Yes, I may be screwing up the streets. I know where it is, I can drive there,
Yeah,
right across here,
you
but,
can walk there.
right, the Timerson property, but what's the,
Our
Yeah.
understanding
Yes.
is that his attorney has met with him, they have gone back to the architect. The architect is redesigning the inside of that structure to be less student-oriented and more traditional in nature. And it'll come back to to admin and policy.
same number of beds?
We're not sure yet.
Yeah,
Okay,
it depends on how they can reconfigure it.
Yeah, they haven't told us. We have not seen it yet.
okay.
Yeah. Their goal is to keep the design of the building, otherwise they have to go back to planning commission.
And start
Go through
over,
that process.
and start over.
So,
Well, the zoning, was it planning or zoning that put thumbs down on it?
Planning and
planning
zoning.
and zoning.
So, okay,
Mhm. And one of their primary concerns was the student oriented nature.
certainly, I understand.
Thank you.
All righty, sorry.
Got a little bit more for you.
Okay, Zach.
Yes, sir. So we're setting public hearing dates for Jerusalem Gardens subdivision. So this is 14 residential lots. This is the one that we had some Tuscaloosa News advertisement issues, so y'all withdrew it, or we withdrew it last week, and we're bringing it back to you to set a public hearing for the 26th. So,
That's not my district, but I'm excited about it.
yes, sir. Yes, it's going to be good, and we'll have more information for you guys when on the 26th. And it was unanimously recommended for approval. And then we have the standards, so this will be under suspended rules. This is coming to you guys. So this is a conditional use approval to operate a gastropub. This is gonna be located between Rounders and 1225 in that little area. It's a little pizza place, but they also wanna operate as a gastropub, not just a restaurant. So this location here. That orange brick on the right side, and you can see Rounders right there. So that's the location. And then, of course, as you guys know, this is what you're gonna be looking for when you're considering a conditional use permit to operate as something like a gastropub. And I'll have information. We've reached out to TPD, we've reached out to engineering and everything, and we've gotten feedback on whether or not, what their concerns might be for this. So we'll have that to you. And that's just setting.
So let me get this straight.
Yes, sir.
It's conditional. If law enforcement came to us and said they're creating serious issues, how much trouble would it be to pull their permit?
I believe you have that ability to revoke their business license.
Just do it?
Yeah, that's a high threshold. Conditional use permit that allows them to operate as a gastropub, which then they're gonna have to reevaluate their business model at that point.
Okay.
I just,
So yes, to your question, it is available to be revoked.
first of all, I really do like the business owners. I've got some concerns about this because I think we all need to go out there the night of the first home football game and try to go buy some pizza between Rounders and 1225
Yeah, right.
at about 11 o'clock.
Yeah, Yeah.
I talked
You're
with
buying,
them
right?
and it's
Yeah, I'll buy.
really-
If we can get into the door, I will definitely buy, but I do think that.
They were the most engaging people that I've ever met with,
Oh, yeah.
and I love their plan.
Oh, I
you
do
know.
too.
I can see, and that you said that, Mayor, because I can see. Chief, I met with Chief too at the same time we all met together, and Chief Blankley was, and it was a really good meeting, very straightforward meeting. But I like their I like a lot of things that they said, and their track record is really strong, especially the police chief in Pennsylvania,
Oh, yeah.
backing them. But he feels like they can help the problem. But
It'd be interesting to see their perspective on that. You've got two large crowds already convening, and now you're gonna put a third element.
and he was here. They were here on A-Day.
Yeah, I wonder,
They witnessed.
were they open? They weren't open.
No, they were here as customers.
Oh, okay.
They've got kids in school.
Yeah.
well, I hope it works for them if we do that. But like you say, I might think about closing on game day.
So I talked with them in very blunt terms and about the issues down there, and they are aware of them and believe they have a plan for dealing with them. My question is this, from the city standpoint, from my councilman's standpoint, the gastro pub license is the most favorable one to the district, right? Because our issue is the restaurants that can let anybody, any age in, anytime, is where much of the problem is centered, where the gastropubs have a different criteria to meet for who can be present in that building, right?
They.
You
so
have to be of age to be
After a certain hour.
after
yeah.
what time, 10?
Well, the bar tavern license restricts you, that's a class 1 lounge liquor license that says you have to be 19 and up. The gastropub is for a restaurant that just turns into a bar at night. We don't, as a city, we don't specify what hour that person has to be of age. We don't specify
Well, how do we
that.
enforce it? I mean, if we go in there at 11:30 at night, and there's 14 people in there underage, have they violated anything?
If they are drinking alcohol, yes, sir.
But they can be present in there. I
TPD
thought
somewhere?
the gastropub designation was designed to filter who could be physically present in there after a certain
I
time.
think it was correct me if I'm wrong, a use of zoning so we don't have to go through the ABC or the business license standpoint, was my
Yes.
understanding.
Yeah, it was, yes, sir.
So we could rezone the property, which would then create issues for the business, and it wouldn't be as punitive as trying to pull a business license, and we certainly don't have the ability to pull an ABC license once it's granted.
Counselor Busby, on a practical level, to your question, your Innisfree and Mo's have
They
two
were-
gastropubs. They basically, from a staffing standpoint and operational standpoint, they hit that 9 or 10 o'clock point, and they kind of shift the crowd on their own kind of controls, if that makes sense. So there's a level of responsibility that the business should be providing to this, to where there's not a family of 4, and 2 young children in there at 10:30 and basically a bar environment. But that's how they switched off. Mo's would be a better example. I think they get a door guy.
They do.
They do what?
They
Door
have
guy,
a door
bouncer.
guy,
Door guide?
like a bouncer.
A tour guide?
Door guy.
Door guy.
Door
Alright,
guy.
They're kind of a tour guide too. Kind of.
Door guy.
My question was just if it was easy to pull. That's all I wanted to
So,
know.
I talked with, the owners extensively, and they want to keep the kitchen going all night. At some point, there are times that they might want
Is
to
there a
put it
pizza place?
to be,
Crystal was there when I
game
was
days and things like that,
Me
where,
too.
they could get more people in, but they're gonna have the kitchen going the entire time. And at 2 o'clock, if they're open, they're gonna be selling pizza, is what they told us. And so they plan to, actually bring a packet of some of this, some of their operating stuff tonight to hand out to you guys before council.
They're gonna do street stuff too, like slices out the window, things like that.
Well, and to be very clear, tonight is not their public hearing. You're just setting the date
Setting a date
tonight for July 26th.
Thanks.
Alright, and then finally, we've got a rezoning coming to you guys. So this is R&R Cigar. This is at 2703 6th Street. They are requesting a rezone from VGO DROD to VC DROD. This is Council District 1. You can see here on the zoning map, they are surrounded by VGO. I just want to point out, there is the condominiums below, just to the south there. We've gotten a lot of,
Didn't that go before zoning already?
so they went to Planning and Zoning Commission, and they, in April, and they unanimously recommended not to approve this.
Unanimous.
Is that the complaints have been getting those apartments? Is that what you're talking about?
Condos behind.
Primarily, there's other complaints as well, but
Yeah.
that's
I've
really
gotten
what
phone
this
calls
is.
Well,
complaining about.
I've spoken to the
TPG too.
HOA president concerning this property, both properties, the one next to it. I think there needs to be some serious conversation about what our expectations is, especially when you live in a development area, and then what expectations are for business. Because I think that needs to be had, whether it's on the record or off the record. I think since I've been on the council, I've been hearing so much about that there's been a lot of conversations, back and forth, back and forth. And I want us to be able to find a way to kind of bring a conclusion to the matter.
Well, as far as this goes.
Yeah.
The zoning board, the zoning was unanimous against it, right? I just wanna make that clear.
When you say the HOA president.
The homeowners association,
Of
of the condo.
Of the condo.
Of the condo,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Mhm.
They're against
What is,
it, I
what is his
presume.
position? They're against it?
They are against it totally. They have, and they email me as well as recently.
And again, this is just setting the public hearing date.
Thank goodness.
That's all I've got for you.
All right. Thank you, Zach. Livening things up. It's so great to have you back and looking so well.
Thank you. I took last week off to binge watch Ozark.
How was it?
It was fantastic. I just used COVID as a cover story to get caught up. Two quick things, because I know that we've got to have an executive session that may take a little bit of time. The two quick things are that I've got 2 town hall meetings this week. One will be I'll be at Live at the Plaza out there. At 10 at some, and not an undisclosed location, at some disclosed location at some point. We'll put that out on social media Friday night. And then Saturday morning, I'll be at the New Heritage House. Mr. Crow will be joining me there on Rice Mine Road from 8 to 9:30. And so come by, have a cup of coffee on me.
It'll be rocking.
It'll be rocking. I tell you, I
Now,
don't
you
know.
didn't buy the coffee when you were with me.
I wanted to. Somebody went up there and bought it. At the end of the,
Yeah,
I didn't. That
did.
was you.
No, I didn't buy it.
I went up there at the end and they said somebody had already taken care of it, which was very kind. But anyway, I will be there, and we'll be going into more districts across the city. So it's come and go. There's no defined times. So I'll be out there, and if you want to join me Friday night or Saturday, join Mr. Crow and I.
Absolutely.
When you say at a soon to be disclosed location, I assume it's gonna be at the plaza,
It's
right?
gonna be at the plaza. I just don't know where at the. Kay hadn't told me yet.
Okay.
I work for Kay Day.
Don't
and
have coffee clubs.
She'll tell me where I need to be, and I will be there. But I look forward to it and enjoyed it. Had so much fun in Mr. Bell's district. I look forward to Mr. Crow, and your district and your district.
I will be in Blue Mountain Springs, Georgia.
Oh, it'll be a little cooler probably where you
I
are.
hope.
That's all I have, Mr.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Glad you're well.
Thank you.
And we've got quite a few people out in City Hall, don't we?
It's been, we're
It's been a
going
big
through that.
increase in COVID.
Yeah, this next iteration, it seems to spread. Luckily, it's not lethal, but it's just
Right.
very contagious.
I hope everyone, the best, for sure. Brandy,
So, while I'm talking, I'm gonna let you guys pass these around. Before you guys looked at those, you guys got handouts with the letter from DCH. It is that time for us to go ahead and make our appointment for the DCH Healthcare Authority Board of Directors. As you all know, we have 2 appointees to this board of the 9. One of them, Mr. David Gay, his term expired at the end of June. By state code, DCH is required to send us 3 recommendations on who they would like to either reappoint or appoint to fill that position. As you all see, Mr. David Gay is one of the names that they would like to reappoint. If you guys choose not to, there are 2 other names listed here as well. It is a 6-year term. Mr. Gay, if you guys choose to reappoint him, this will be his first full term. He was appointed at the beginning of, I believe, 2021 to fill the unexpired term of Mr. Major Herbert Rivesdale. So he is looking forward to hopefully a full term, if you guys would like.
I would
I'm
like.
good with that.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, me too. So we'll do David.
Okay, so then the next thing that we need to talk about is HPC. We have had this portal open to accept resumes for quite some time. We had a total of 4 applicants. This is one of the boards from Planning and Zoning that is mayor nominated and council appointed. Mayor has decided of the 4 resumes that you guys have to go ahead and appoint Ms. Francine Wasden to the position of Mr. Brett Clark, who will not be reappointed. He has not made his nomination for Mr. Price McGifford yet, but until then, you guys will have those other 3 to look at while the mayor is still kind of making his decision.
I really thank you for that.
Yeah.
Francine is, of course, is the only, well, the neighborhood that's historic district that's really outside of the downtown. And
She is really good, her resume is impressive too.
she was the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce in Chilton County and,
Greenville too, wasn't it?
in Greenville.
Yeah.
And she lives in, Buena Vista.
So that to me, the last time we had this discussion, you know, we really focused on Buena Vista. I know that downtown is generally the heavier part of this. I'm looking for some guidance. So you've got the other three. Y'all can let me know your feelings, and I tend to lean towards Mr. Wilson and Mr. Busby on this because it makes up the heart of their district. So let me know what you think.
I will. Brandy and I exchanged notes today, and I will look at them hard because it means a lot to us. And there's some right balance between development interest and preservation interest, but it is the Preservation Commission. So I will look at it and talk with you as well.
So it sounds like we are going to go ahead and appoint Ms. Watson, and then I'll step back with you guys next week and check in and see what you guys think on the other three applicants, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Brandy. Who are the other two? Is it Bart and who?
Mr. William Edwards and Fred Andrus
And then Bart Adcock?
and Bart Adcox.
Okay. All righty. Okay. Chad,
Good afternoon, council.
good afternoon.
Good to be with you. I'm standing in for Mr. Holmes and Mr. Bobbitt this afternoon,
So we're getting the third team, is that what you're telling me?
but just as good as the first.
There you
team.
go.
He's gonna, just so you don't feel lonely, he's gonna cough a few times during his presentation so you think that Tom is here.
I got you.
Tom, I talked to Tom yesterday. Tom is recovering from COVID.
COVID and LaPerry has COVID.
LaPerry has COVID, and Scott is on vacation, but he's joined us for a couple of meetings already today.
I've
so.
already talked with him twice today about things, so I'm doing my best to ruin Scott's vacation.
Good job.
We'll jump in on page 20 of the agenda packets. The first two items that we will have tonight come from the Public Safety Committee where they were heard on June 28th. The first is on page 20. Is a resolution authorizing the police department to sign an interagency agreement for the review of child abuse cases in Tuscaloosa County. And then on pages 21 through 25, a resolution approving job class specifications for auxiliary school resource officers. The third item on the agenda on page 26 is going to be, and this comes from TPD, this is a resolution authorizing the purchase of a hangar at the Tuscaloosa National Airport from General Aviation Center as the new hangar for the Tuscaloosa Police Department Aviation Unit for a total of $750,000. I believe that Mr. Bobbitt and Mr. Holmes have talked, have briefed the council on that either
talked
in
about
May
that
or
hangar.
June before.
We did. We talked about
We
it.
talked about it, we talked about it in executive session, right?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On the price negotiation,
We did.
and we have an amendment on finance committee.
So the
where-
finance number is different from the number you just used, right, Carly? The finance number we looked at, say again?
Is $825.
Right, you said 750, right?
For appraisal costs and any other fees that it will take for like filing fees and things of that nature for the attorney.
There's also an additional, I think we put in 50,000 when we created the budget for any improvements that need to be done to the facility itself once PD takes ownership. Racks, equipment, signage.
So the purchase, I'm sorry.
So it was to give them the ability to go in, because they'll have to go in and modify some parts of the hangar.
So the purchase price will be $750, and then the balance will be for getting the transaction closed and anything that needs to be done immediately following possession. The next two items on the agenda both come from purchasing on page 27. Resolution authorizing the purchase of equipment, supplies, or services from Stivers Ford for a total of $31,117. And on page 28, authorizing the purchase of equipment, supplies, or services from Thompson Tractor Company for $33,827.
And Chad, when
Yes, sir.
we see these are numbers, these are equipment and amounts that are already approved and in somebody's budget,
I believe
correct?
that's correct, right,
It's
Charlie?
down in the,
Yes,
down
sir.
in the lower left corner. All right, so this,
Yes, sir, all equipment purchases that come from the purchasing division are all through currently budgeted line items.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Picking up on page 29, the next several items in the Projects Committee where they were heard on June 28th. First, we have a resolution authorizing a professional services contract with Gresham Smith for a total not to exceed $28,000. Then on page 30, a resolution authorizing a contract amendment with Johnson Consulting for the event space feasibility study and market analysis. That is a compensation amount increase of $10,000 on that contract. The next two are both related to the Martin Luther King Jr. and Boulevard Jack Warner Parkway improvements contract. The first is a resolution to authorize payment of Alabama Power's invoice for the conversion of the overhead distribution lines to underground utility lines for phase one of the project. And then on page 32, authorizing the agreement for AT&T to design the conversion from overhead power to underground power for phase two of the project. On page 33, we'll have a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a supplemental funding agreement with the County Parking and Transit Authority. And on page 34 and 35, a resolution tentatively awarding the public works contract to Ryan Shirley Company for the Southern Garden Storm Drain Cleanout Project. The bid price on that was $64,850. The next,
Chad, we're
yes, sir.
doubling that up today, right? Because that's on the
Yes, sir, I'm
projects
sorry.
agenda, we haven't talked about that yet.
I was looking at that one with the wrong note. That one and the next two will also be heard this afternoon in projects. So that picks up on page 36 with a resolution to tentatively award the contract to EDCO for the city's herbicide treatment project for 2022. The contract price on that would be $186,000. And then on page 38, the resolution to authorize the execution of the agreement with Fun Factory for an event at the Gateway Innovation and Discovery Center. The last two items that we'll have on the resolutions first is a resolution to authorize the mayor to execute a primary agreement and task order directive number 1 with Chambliss King Architects. That's going to be the design contract for the Tuscaloosa Tennis Center. And then the final resolution, this is coming from our office, from OCA, would be a resolution to authorize the CFO to draw drafts for the McWright's Ferry Road Improvements Project right-of-way acquisitions for a total of $446,400. That will actually cover about 6 tracks that are detailed in the authorizing resolution. And we're getting a little bit closer.
Do you know
Three
which
left.
tracks are in the county? Are these-
You know
I believe, I don't know that all of them are in the county, but I believe at least some of them are in the county.
I think I think all that's left,
That's amazing.
They are all.
yeah, I think all that's left, Walt, is the county.
That's,
I think that's right.
That's amazing.
I think there's only 3 tracks left, isn't that right, Walt? Wasn't it
We
3?
gotta be in that neighborhood.
Yeah, we're almost,
we're
We're almost
right
done,
at the
which is
home
amazing.
stretch and down to the last few tracks. Tom has done
great work by
amazing work on
Tom
that.
and all of y'all helping him, because I'm telling you, it's
That's
a big deal.
On the ordinances for this week, Mr. Pons already touched, I believe, on the zoning amendment number 1480. After that, there are going to be 4 ordinances that are in for introduction this week. The first 2 of these come from public safety. They were heard at the June 28th public safety meeting. The first would be an ordinance to amend section 1-8A of the Tuscaloosa City Code. And the second would be an ordinance to amend exhibits A and B of section 1942 of the code. That one ties back into the resolution creating the job classification for the auxiliary resource officers. So the resolution would be to adopt and create the classifications. The ordinance, when adopted, would put those job classifications into the city code. 2 ordinances for introduction that came from Finance Committee where they were heard on June 28th. The first, authorizing Amendment 3 to the 2022 Elevate Tuscaloosa Fund Budget, and the second, authorizing Amendment 11 to the fiscal year 2022 General Fund Budget. Of course, with those ordinances, they may be there for introduction this week, but could be adopted by unanimous consent. Ordinances for adoption. Mr. Pons touched on the first one regarding Jerusalem Gardens. The second would be an ordinance setting August 9th as the date for the hearing to consider the zoning amendment number 14.
I know, right?
$440. Kip, spend more than that.
I've been at home a lot.
Any other questions for me?
Thank you, Chad. Any
Thank you,
questions? Okay. Alrighty. We got, of course, project finance. We got a council work session at 4, which is good. Then, let's see, July 13th, Historic Preservation Commission meeting. Don't forget that's the action plan, if you want to attend, is 2 o'clock on Thursday. It's probably be very brief if it's like in the past. Planning Commission on Monday. One thing I do want to say, and I think Mr. Busby knows, has been in touch with Vicki about this. Personally, I'm not in favor of every agency speaking before the council. There's 47 of them, but I do know that Community Service Programs has requested that they have a chance to come from the council with Ms. Burton. So if there are any other council members that you have a specific agency besides the Power 5 or the new ones, I think, isn't it the West Alabama Food Bank?
Yes, sir. So there's a couple of new applicants this year. The West Alabama Food Bank is one of them. The Phoenix House is
Phoenix
another
House.
one. I think there's a couple of others on there too. But we can also add CSP.
If you'll add CSP, and I thought TES, but they didn't apply
They
apparently.
did not apply for agency funding. this
So
year.
if there are any other agencies that have contacted you, which Ms. Burton did, and
But
one-
TES contacted me they contacted me, and there are several others that I'm going to bring.
well, they
up.
told me TES didn't apply though.
They didn't apply.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't receive an application.
They didn't
for
apply
agency
for,
funding.
they didn't apply for anything.
They have applied for CDBG funding. is that right?
Okay.
Yeah, maybe CDBG, but
So far.
with the agency. So if y'all contact Ms. Burton, I guess.
Yes, sir. So we will add CSP to our list to create hearings for, but yes, if anybody else has one that they would like to hear from, we're setting those hearing dates now.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion that we go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
A motion second, Chad?
Yes, sir. As legal counsel for the city and for the city council, I can certify that the matters to be discussed in executive session do concern matters of pending or threatened litigation or matters that are imminently likely to be litigated, and that the discussion is appropriate for executive session.
Okay, we have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. If